Hi, welcome to valuationpodcast.com, a podcast and video series about all things related to business and valuation. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I provide online valuation services for mediation and litigation based in St. Louis, Missouri. Today, we will discuss Donald Trump's tax return, and it's really a case study for divorce attorneys and what to look at in a personal tax return with Jason Soman. He's a valuation expert in Boca Raton, Florida. He owns his own firm, Accounting and Valuation LLC, and he's specializing in business valuation and forensic accounting in the context of divorce. Welcome, Jason. How are
Thank
you?
you, Melissa, for having me. It's a pleasure to be back on.
So let's give an overview, if you will, of what we're going to discuss, because this is just, the front page of what a 1040 looks like. And this is Donald Trump's tax return. So these are the numbers, and we're going to drill down deeper. But in general, give us a roadmap. What are we going to talk about? What tips should divorce attorneys be prepared to be paying attention to? And then we'll come and kind of go through the tax return.
Absolutely. And I think one of the reasons why I'm kind of passionate for talking about tax returns with divorce attorneys is because I remember when I first started in this business and I was learning about how to read tax returns. We're not tax people, right? Like the tax partners at whatever firm that prepared this tax return have way more thorough and complex tax knowledge than I do. This document that you're summarizing on the screen right here is a 350-page document. There's a ton of information in tax returns, and it took, I'd say, years for me to really understand and be able to pick out the important numbers and the important facts from the tax return. So when we're looking here at the first page of the tax return, what this does is it kind of gives you a high-level summary of what happened during that tax year. Then the numbers that are on the first page, what we could see is that there's backup for all these numbers. For example, there's $10.6 million of interest income. So, you'll see that and you'll say, oh, where do I find out where the $10.6 million in interest income comes from? We're going to show you that on this podcast. And it's also, you should know that if you see any number in the beginning of the tax return, most likely you should be able to look back in the tax return and kind of find out where that number came from. So, looking at the first page of the tax return, I see a negative $4.7 million in income. And that's because of the fact that there's this other income of negative $15.8 million. So before that, there was, call it $11 million of income before this negative $15 million hit. And I think it's important to realize because, a lot of people will talk in the news and they'll say, oh, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle or what you think about the tax returns. I think that the moral of the story here, and that we'll get into, is that no one really knows what Donald Trump is putting in his pocket. Whether you think, oh, he's, he really doesn't make any money because, he has a negative $4.8 million in income in his tax return. I don't think that's true. And I don't know if he's got all this money that he says he does, in the interest income and these other places, because we don't actually know what he put in his pocket. So I think that it's a very important concept in determining income and for divorce purposes, is that what someone's income is as reported on their tax return does not necessarily equal what they put in their pocket. And I think real estate investors, developers, people who are involved in real estate, I think the disparity between income and cash flow is huge. And that's because there's depreciation, which is non-cash charges. There's, so you could get income to be negative. And also, what people do is they have appreciating property and then they refinance that property and they take out cash, from the increased level of debt. And that'll never hit the personal tax return. So for all we know, we don't know whether his income is, income for support, income for alimony. We don't know whether that number is negative 4.8 million or 20 million or 50 million. We have really no way to tell how much money he put in his pocket. And I look forward to taking you guys through that and showing you guys why.